How's it going? Steven here. Today my guest comes from a little ways up north, Russian River's Pliny the Elder. You guys got that piney beer? You guys got the Pliny? So let's go ahead and have a look at it. It's a very vibrant gold color. It's not 100% see-through. There is kind of a particulate in suspension, but you can still mostly see through it. You could probably definitely read through it. Yeah, you could read through it. And then the head is very compact. Mostly fine bubbles, but there is some rockiness going on the top. While we're sitting with this, let's talk a little bit about Russian River and the beer itself. It's named after the famous and eccentric Roman author, naturalist, and philosopher. It's claimed he first wrote the botanical name for hops, or at least described them, but he actually did neither of those things. Martin Cornell dove way deeper into this than I care to in this video, so if you want to read more about that, I'll have a link to it in the pinned comment below. The origins of Russian River start at another brewery entirely. Vinny got his start at another brewery that he opened, Blind Pig Brewing in Temecula, California, his hometown, in 1994. They pay homage to this original venture with the beer of the same name. Russian River Brewing Company was founded by Korbel Champagne Cellars in 1999. Russian River Brewing Company was founded by Korbel Champagne Cellars in 1997, where Vinny was hired as brewmaster and initially the sole employee. Over the coming years, Vinny started to develop a lot of the beers that they still make to this day, most notably Pliny. By 2003, Korbel wanted out of the brewing game, and so they transferred the rights to Vinny and his business partner and wife, Natalie. With a business plan, other managing partners, and investment from friends and family, the brewery reopened under their ownership in April 2004. Santa Rosa is their original location, and they've since opened a brewery in Windsor, their Dream Brewery, which opened its doors in 2018. The brewery is very decorated. They've won multiple Great American Beer Fest and World Beer Cup awards, and have been named Brewery and Brewmaster of the Year twice at both events, among a host of other awards at smaller competitions and events. The beer I have in front of me is the one they're probably most well known for, but they make a bunch of other exceptionally well-made hoppy beers and barrel-aged sour beers. The breakdown of what this beer is made from is a combination of the homebrew scale clone recipe that Vinny himself released, as well as a bunch of homebrew clones of the original 2004 version and the modern version. Most of the changes are relatively minor adjustments due to hop availability and changes from crop to crop. Changes like this are not uncommon in brewing. It happens all the time and most people don't notice it. That's kind of the point. The biggest change between the 2004 version and the more modern version is the bitterness, which I guess is more a sign of the times than anything. Both versions feature some amount of crystal malt, usually C40 or C45, as is stated by Vinny, but I have seen some go all the way up to C60. The hops don't seem to change much. Centennial and Simcoe seem omnipresent, but I've seen Cascade, Chinook, and Warrior substituted in. I hope that's the right password. You are a robot. All right, let's go ahead and have a smell. So this is a really nice medley of kind of all of the parts of orange. Orange fruit, rind, peel. It's a really good floral, spicy kind of character to it. It's a little bit woodsy as well. I'd say like a pine. There's a little bit of a grapefruit tone as well. And I always pick up a pretty decent amount of passion fruit. And there's always kind of a faint cattiness that's underneath everything. I'm just super sensitive to that, so I pick it up. It's mostly about the hops here. There's very little malt character. There's little kisses of bread and a little whiff of a caramel. And as you sit with it for a little bit and let it warm up, some of the fruitier aspects come up. You get a little bit of a berry. I pick up a little bit of an apricot. That passion fruit becomes a little bit stronger. The earthy, woody pine sort of subsides slightly, and it's a little bit more leveled. So I've got a couple of stories of Pliny as far as working in beer. One time there was a guy that was asking for a beer, and he's like, yeah, I don't really remember what it was called, but it came in a bottle, and it had a green label with a red circle. And I said, oh, you're looking for Pliny? And he's like, no, I don't think that's what it was. And I'm like, it was Pliny. And he's like, my friend knows, I'll ask him. So I leave and come back and check on him a few minutes later, and I was like, oh, did you find out what beer you were looking for from your friend? And he goes, yeah, it's this one, and he holds up a picture, and it's a picture of that right there. And I went, yep. That's Pliny. And then another story that I had, it was a younger kid. He was probably close to 22, and good on him for trying to seek out beer like this, and asked me, I'm looking for this beer. It's a Russian beer. And I went, oh, well, we don't really have a lot of Russian beer, but I can tell you maybe where you might be able to track that down. Which beer was it? He says, yeah, it was called like Pliny or Pliny. And I had to very delicately explain to him that the name of the brewery is Russian River. They're not from Russia. I still think about him sometimes. This used to be a much harder beer to get, and people seem to still be living in that time. It's not that hard to get anymore, like Whole Foods has this. All right, let's go ahead and have a taste. Cheers. So on the palate, this has that same medley of aromas that we were picking up. Initially, it's a lot of that orange character and some grapefruit. And you kind of have a middle portion that is mostly dominated by that pine, earthy, woody, spicy kind of character. But as this warms up a little bit more, you get a little bit more of that passion fruit and berry and apricot. A lot of those fruitier notes that aren't the citrus start to pop up more, and the woodsy floral starts to subside a little bit more. And then yeah, malt character, it's a little bit hard to like pierce through all that, but it's very similar to the nose. You get kind of a bready, crackery foundation, and there's like just the faintest kiss of caramel sweetness, and that's really it. So the body on this is medium. The bitterness is highly assertive, but it's not a palate-wrecking level of bitterness. It's very rounded. It doesn't attack the front portion of your tongue or doesn't attack in the finish. It's very evenly distributed over your entire tongue. The carbonation on this is moderate, but it has a bit of a delicate quality to it. It's a little bit soft. The field of this has a bit of an oily character, but otherwise it's very firm in flavor. And then the finish is crisp, dry, and bitter. So I think mostly I decided to do this tasting, not because I haven't had this beer before, because I've had plenty of times. I think I had a much more interesting question in mind for myself and also just to pose. Is Pliny still one of the best double IPAs ever made? And I think for me, I'd say consistently, yes, it is. But there are so many breweries out there now making comparable things to this that we really are spoiled for choice. So just like my video on Heady Topper, at the time this beer came out, not only was it an exceptionally well-made beer, it helped define a whole style. And it still serves as a benchmark of what a great double IPA should be. It's rightly recognized for this with its various medals and accolades, and it's recognized as a core example of the style through the BJCP style guide. I'd say it is definitely now equal parts hype and excellence. I've had friends of mine who are self-described IPA haters try this beer, and they've tolerated it at worst and really enjoyed it at best. Sometimes they've even said that it's completely changed what they think of IPAs. And I think that really says something important about it. Pliny is a delightful thing, and if you have access to it and you haven't tried it yet, I think you've done yourself a really great disservice if you enjoy IPAs. If you want to watch some more tastings like this one, check out some over there. Cheers! And thanks for watching.